Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some significant news. At 76, King Charles's heartbreaking confession, "I kept my son hidden for a reason." An insider says that King Charles's health might develop worse around the time Prince William takes the throne, which could happen sooner than expected. King Charles has one last desire for a member of the royal family, and the hidden desires for each member of the royal family draw individuals from all around the globe. In addition to the request, King Charles's unexpected confession regarding the rumor of a secret son stunned everyone. The source suggested that King Charles might have said, "I keep him secret for a reason." In this video, we'll find out who he is talking about and why he said it. A royal reckoning, the secret that could end the Windsor dynasty. After years, for decades, the walls of Buckingham Palace have silently watched over the history of a country polished by tradition and strengthened by an unwritten rule of quiet. But there is a rumor that has been going around for a long time about the British monarchy that is so shocking that it might bring down the very foundations of the crown. For years, whispers have resonated through the halls of power. They were quiet, unsure, and easy to dismiss as the fantastical gossip that always surrounds the royal family. But some secrets don't go away with time. They gather speed and their echoes become louder until they can't be ignored. This mystery about a supposed hidden heir might not only change the history of the House of Windsor, but it could also cause a constitutional crisis that hasn't happened in a long time. The claim is as simple as it is shocking that King Charles III had a son before he became king, but no one ever knew about it. This son, not William or Harry, is a firstborn whose mere existence could shatter the fragile and sacred foundation of royal succession. Long-hidden claims and insider sources say that this kid was conceived at a time when the public thought that the then Prince of Wales's life was already characterized by his troubled marriage to Princess Diana and his long-lasting relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. Should these claims hold true, the consequences would be immense. King Charles has spent his whole life building a legacy of duty, tradition, and caring for the environment. However, all of this could crumble in an instant. The unbreakable rules of lineage and primogeniture, the foundation of the monarchy, would face unprecedented attacks. The ultimate symbol of enduring stability, the crown would confront an unprecedented disruption. The revelation would not just be a scandal, it would be a disaster for the Constitution. Such a discovery might throw the royal family into upheaval, spark uproar throughout the globe, and weaken centuries of ceremonial authority in a contemporary society that is already very dubious of hereditary privilege. As the country moves through the early years of a new Carolean age, the discovery of a secret successor would spark a national and international debate over the monarchy's legitimacy, significance, and destiny. The beginning of a secret, a chaotic throne. To truly comprehend the gravity of this secret, one must trace its origins back to the 1980s. The royal family experienced many problems throughout this decade. The fairy tale wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer turned into a harsh and widely publicized fight, which was frequently called the War of the Waleses. The monarchy, a symbol of stability and unity, was facing internal challenges. The future king and queen's marriage was falling apart behind the royal gates because of the huge pressure from the public, the media, and their basic differences. Their private pain was becoming public knowledge, which might flow out into the streets and ruin the crown's carefully built mythology. Not only was Prince Charles grappling with the demands of his royal duty, but he was also grappling with a profound sense of emotional isolation against the backdrop of a chilly and crumbling marriage. There were rumors of a hidden affair, one that had nothing to do with his well-known connection with Camilla Parker Bowles during this time of severe emotional and public stress. The lady at the center of these rumors from decades ago, if the broken accounts are to be believed, was a complete stranger. She didn't come from a royal family and wasn't part of any political or aristocratic group. She represented a brief yet significant deviation from the path fate had planned for the Prince of Wales. Was it a brief mistaken judgment, a real but impossible relationship, or a secret so valuable that Charles felt he had to bury it behind layers of devotion, duty, and fear that no one could see through the lack of official information is what makes the story so disturbing. The palace has never made a clear official denial. Instead, it has responded to every question with a deafening silence. In that space, rumors have spread. There are only hints of this supposed son in the shadows of media history, in decades-old retracted interviews with royal aides who then disappeared from public life, in grainy tabloid headlines that were mysteriously pulled without explanation, and in rumored quiet settlements that were made with ironclad non-disclosure agreements that no one has dared to break. Despite the lack of evidence, the pattern of suppression suggests that someone deemed the narrative too risky to reveal at some point. Independent investigators and royal biographers have attempted to trace the tenuous trail. Some reporters say the affair happened in the early 1980s when Charles was touring the Commonwealth alone. Others have said that the time frame was during the worst times in his marriage, when both Charles and Princess Diana said they were emotionally distant and living mostly separate lives. One of the most persistent leads, while not confirmed, came from Australia. It was about a guy who looked a lot like both a young Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth II, and who said in public that he was their grandchild. Simon Durante has been saying for years that he was born in 1965, while Charles and Camilla were teens, and then adopted by a family with links to the royal family. His time frame is different from the one from the 1980s, but his push for DNA testing has kept the idea of a secret royal child alive in the public mind. His story shows how hard it is for the palace to stop these accusations, whether true or not. The more you look into any of these strands, the more institutional opposition you find. Many people perceive this resistance as more powerful than any denial. The cover-up, an act of institutional silence. If there is a secret royal kid, it was not an accident that he was kept hidden. It was a planned and well-carried-out operation by an organization that has been hiding difficult facts for hundreds of years. The monarchy, which is frequently called the firm, is a machine created to last, and its main job is to safeguard the crown at all costs. According to insiders who only wanted to remain anonymous, the birth would not have taken place in the UK. The UK has a very active press corps and a lot of people who work in the palace, so the danger of being exposed would have been too high. The infant probably wasn't born in London, but in a Commonwealth nation like Canada or Australia, where Londoners couldn't see them. Any paperwork that already existed, like a birth certificate or hospital admission forms, would have been changed or made up under a fake identity with a new last name, a different mother's location, and a different chronology. All of this was done to cover up the trail before it could ever be traced. But getting rid of a bloodline takes more than simply distance. It takes force. The monarchy has numerous gatekeepers shielded by layers of institutional authority and deep-rooted allegiance. Royal aides who had been personally checked out and sworn to keep quiet would have been sent to handle the matter. Medical workers may have been pushed to retire early with big pensions, and local politicians may have been told to ignore the problem. When persuasion didn't work, the monarchy's powerful judicial system would have stepped in. Ironclad non-disclosure agreements with harsh financial and legal consequences would have kept anybody who came close to the truth quiet. Every possible leak was stopped, every murmur was silenced, and every document was locked away behind legal barriers that even Parliament wouldn't dare to break. The affair wasn't just a rumor that no one heard. It was a possible scandal that was carefully hidden before it could get any public attention. Even the most basic parts of a person's existence, like a picture, a school enrollment, or a doctor's appointment, would have been handled such that no official record ever connected the kid to the royal family. He would have been a ghost in the system, reared with a fake name and living a life based on fake remoteness. He would have been in this planned exile, which was disguised as a regular nameless childhood. No one would invite him to Balmoral for the summer, send him Christmas greetings from Clarence House, or even say that he was alive. There would be just the deep, endless quiet that only monarchy can purchase. A constitutional time bomb. The danger of succession. The Prince of Wales's frantic attempts to keep this secret were not only to prevent personal disgrace, They were about preventing a constitutional crisis that may have made the UK unstable. An illegitimate firstborn son would have ruined the line of succession in the monarchy's most vital aspect. A kid born out of wedlock while Charles was still married to Diana would have turned the public's compassion for the princess into a tidal wave of anger. People already loved Diana as the people's princess, and she would have been seen as the ultimate victim of a dishonest government. People would no longer consider Charles to be a man stuck in an arranged marriage. They would regard him as the bad guy who ruined the country's fairy tale all by himself. But the effects go well beyond just public relations. Admitting to having an illegitimate kid would have led to a legal and constitutional mess. Old common law and legislative legislation, especially the Act of Settlement of 1701, set the rules for who would inherit in the UK. These regulations have historically prevented those born outside of a legal marriage from inheriting the kingdom. But the discovery of a hidden son, especially a firstborn, would have sparked a heated argument. What if, for example, a covert marriage had happened even if it seems very unlikely? The Legitimacy Act of 1926 lets a kid be legitimized if their parents are married later. But it doesn't apply here since Charles married Camilla, not the woman who is said to be the child's mother. The main explosive question would be over primogeniture. The ruling was male preference primogeniture until the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 made absolute primogeniture the law the oldest child inherits no matter what gender. If this supposed son was born before Prince William in 1982, he would have had a better chance of becoming king than his younger, legitimate sibling. Even if he wasn't technically allowed to be king, the fact that he was the eldest son of the king would have thrown the whole institution into chaos. Parliament may have had to intervene, which could have caused a constitutional conflict between the monarchy and the government. Parliament may have examined the British Constitution, a fragile and unwritten patchwork of law and tradition. This is not drama. This is the very definition of a constitutional crisis, stated Dr. Eleanor Vance, a constitutional expert. The monarchy's legitimacy depends on a clear, unbroken line of succession. So, the institution's foundation of confidence would be shaken by the addition of a new claimant, even an illegitimate one. It would lead to challenges, public protests, and political meddling on a level we haven't seen since Edward VIII stepped down. Charles was not just an ordinary person. He served as the protector of this delicate system in his role as the future monarch. He would have had to choose between two impossible things: admitting his son and throwing the realm into chaos, or giving up his kid to defend the crown. The family fracture. What it means for William, Harry, and Diana's legacy. Every secret truth throws a long shadow, and in this instance, that shade would land directly on the royal family's heart. Although King Charles managed to prevent the story from reaching the public, it would have significantly impacted the emotional and mental well-being of those living in the palace. Scandals, divorce, loss, and years of what Harry has referred to as emotional distance have all tested the bond between Charles and his sons, William and Harry, in public. If they had heard rumors of a hidden half-brother, the cracks that were already there would have grown into huge gaps that couldn't be crossed. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, has always understood the responsibility of carrying the crown. Every choice and every public appearance has been judged based on the hope that he may one day become king. That clarity would vanish when he remembered that a man born before him might have been trained for the same job William had been preparing for his whole life. It would add uncertainty and maybe anger to a life that is all about obligation. It might have an even bigger effect on Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, a guy who was already grieving, feeling like the spare, and very disappointed with royal life, would have to rethink his whole story if this were true. The fact that his father could keep something so important from the public and his kids might explain the strong feelings of betrayal that have been a part of their adult relationship. Could Harry's desire for honesty and his decision to leave the company stem partially from unspoken yet deeply felt emotions? Finding a secret brother who was eliminated for the purpose of the institution, Harry sought to escape would be a terrible confirmation of his greatest complaints. And then there's the spirit of Princess Diana of Wales. What would she have done if she had found out this information while she was still alive? She wasn't only the mother of the heirs. She was the woman who was insulted and dragged through a loveless marriage while the world watched. If she learned that Charles may have fathered another child while married, it would have changed her life. Her public admissions distance from the palace and recognized mental health problems would all have created a new, more devastating level of grief. The ramifications might have prevented the monarchy from recovering, and the public sympathy would have escalated beyond comprehension. Today, the royal family stands clearly broken. The world has witnessed the battle between William and Harry, but the fact that there is a secret son hints that the problems may be worse than everyone thought. It makes you wonder what additional mysteries are hidden in the House of Windsor's foundations. The life of the hidden son, a gilded cage of being unknown. The story's core is the child's life, which is more than just constitutional problems and family conflicts. What type of life did he have to lead? Imagine growing up thinking your dad wore a crown but couldn't say your name. If King Charles really did have a hidden son, life would not have been a fairy tale for him. It would have been a meticulously planned trick. He may have had all the material comforts he needed while growing up far from the glittering gates of Buckingham Palace, a satisfactory education of financial stability, and a well-planned life of relative invisibility. But he would not have been able to know the one thing that makes us who we are, the truth about who he is. There would be no royal titles, no pictures in family albums, and no memories with his half-brothers. His life would be filled with unanswered questions and a constant silent agony underlying those inquiries. Living in the shadow of a parent who could never see you is like living a life where you are always invisible. Was there a lingering feeling of perplexity in his youth, like something didn't quite fit? Or was it a deeper pain that came from the fact that you felt like an outsider, looking in on a family that was yours but not yours? Windsor would never have been on his school records, but maybe he had it in his face in the way his eyes looked, the curve of his ears, or the way he stood that made others look twice, not knowing why he seemed so familiar. It becomes worse when you think of the time he may have found out the truth. Not as a kid, but as a young man, when inquiries became investigations and murmurs became an uncomfortable reality. What would such realization do to someone? To find out you have royal blood, but no one will ever recognize it. Discovering that your father prioritized a throne over a relationship can be devastating. It might make you frustrated, resentful, or sad for the rest of your life. If he is still alive, he is quietly rebelling against the same system that erased him. His life is full of what-ifs and never-were moments, uncelebrated birthdays, and achievements that the one person who should have mattered most never saw. The unraveling a monarchy. Trapped in the digital age, wars, abdications, and betrayals that would have destroyed any other institution have not hurt the royal family. But it has never really confronted the inexorable force of the truth in the digital era. The traditional ways of controlling people aren't working anymore. The monarchy is in a tough position right now because secrets come out in real time on social media, and you can purchase commercial DNA testing with just a click. The media is no longer happy with stories that come from the palace. Journalists who were earlier afraid to speak because of rules or legal threats are now speaking up because the public wants to know everything. Anonymous insiders who were formerly too scared to talk are now saying that the rumor of a hidden son is no longer a fiction, but a real lead one that may have proof that even the most regal spin can't hide. The irony is hard to shake. For years, Prince Harry was the subject of fake paternity rumors, and there were rumors that he looked like James Hewitt, a guy who was close to Princess Diana. Even if it was rejected several times and in a believable way, the chatter continued. Now the palace has to deal with a similar problem, but this time the stakes are much greater. It's not about establishing a fraudulent claim. It's about the possibility of having to acknowledge a truthful one. People used to be passive fans of royal tradition, but now they want more than just well-chosen pictures and formal gestures. After the scandals involving Prince Andrew and the departure of Harry and Meghan, people have never wanted more honesty and responsibility. More and more people are calling for DNA disclosure, not only Republicans who are against the monarchy, but also others who think it has to change to stay alive. What happens now then? Will the supposed son come forward no longer, ready to dwell in the shadow of a crown that turned him down? Does he have the proof, a letter, a picture, or a DNA sample that may change the course of royal history? If he does, the fight won't just be between them. It will be a part of history. It would compel a reassessment that might change the monarchy for the 21st century. What happens to the line of succession? What will happen to Prince William, who believed he would always become king? And how does King Charles III, who is already facing significant public scrutiny, perceive the impact of this news on his legacy? This drama is no longer merely a tale about a controversy from years ago. This narrative is about identity power, truth, and what we leave behind. If the son is sincere and willing to talk, the monarchy's worst days may be ahead. The secrets of Buckingham Palace have been kept within its walls for hundreds of years, but in a world that wants the truth, they may finally speak out. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.